Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and today I decided to bring this video where it's a tutorial on how to build some sort of like push notification or confirmation snack bar using ReactJS. So this is basically what we're going to be building. You can see this can be implemented wherever you want in your website, but basically imagine that you take some sort of action. You post something, you make an API request, something like that, and you want to have a confirmation that it actually worked. And if you click on this button, you can see it will say something like request completed or whichever text you want. But we also implemented a way to demonstrate if something fails. So in this case, if you click on the button, you can see it will say something like something went wrong. I'm going to be focusing the tutorial on the logical part, but I already built the CSS and I'll just paste in the CSS as we go so that you guys can see what I'm doing. However, to build this, it teaches a lot of different skills in React, especially how to work with refs and how to actually manage everything to occur as you want. And before we get into the tutorial, if you guys could leave a like and subscribe, I would massively appreciate it. It will help the channel grow, will help push my videos to more people, and help me continue making these tutorials. So do that before we get into the tutorial, and also all the code for this is in the description. So now that we got everything out of the way, let's get into the tutorial. Okay guys, so as you can see, we have here the same website, but now when I click on this button, nothing appears. The reason for that is because I just opened up here a new application in React. I'm using Create React app, and all I did in this application was set up the stuff that has nothing to do with the actual snack bar. Created a little button over here called the show snack bar button, and it just says show snack bar, right? And this wouldn't matter in your case because if you want to implement a snack bar, you probably already have a button in your application where you're trying to click on it to make the snack bar appear. So I don't want to show the backbone of this application that has nothing to do with the actual snack bar. And in the app.css, I just have some very minor styling to make the page look a little bit better, give some background color and stuff, just to give an overall better, feeling to the application. But now let's start implementing the actual snack bar component. So for the snack bar, we're going to create here a folder in our application and call it components. And this is where we're going to hold our snack bar component. And inside of it, we're going to create a component called snack bar like this, snackbar.js. And to complement it, we're going to create a snackbar.css, which is going to be the CSS file for the snack bar, obviously. And in the snackbar.js, I'm going to run our FCE, where we're going to generate our snack bar functional component. Inside of here, I'm going to import the CSS file by saying ./snackbar.css. And with this in mind, let's start talking about how this logic will actually work. So the first thing we need to take into account is that we want to be able to customize our snack bars as much as possible. In the sense that I want to be able to come over here and, call a snack bar like this, snack bar. And I'll actually try to import it. So I need to import it from the snack bar component. And I want to be able to pass props to this component, telling it if it is a successful snack bar or a failed snack bar. And you saw in the beginning of the video, the difference between both of them is that one is green, the other is red, and also the little icon on them changes based on if it is a snack bar that represents success or a snack bar that represents a fail. And I also want to customize it in the sense that whenever I call this, I want to pass into the props the actual message, right? So a message saying something like something went wrong or this action failed. So I want to be able to pass that as props. So to do that, we're going to come over here and take in props, and we're going to use this as the actual the props, right? And now in the app.js, I can pass different props, such as a message prop. And a message prop would be something like, as I mentioned, saying something like something went wrong if it is a failed snack bar. In this case, let's just make the first one be a successful one. So I'll say something like action completed. And then I will pass another prop, which will be named type. And type will just be either the word success or the word fail. Since we're using JavaScript, we can't create something fancy like in TypeScript, like an enum, and just hold both of them like this. But what we can do is we can actually create an object. Like, for example, I can create over here an object and call it snackbar type. And this over here will basically hold the two different types. It will hold success and it will be a string called success and fail, and it will hold a string called fail like this. And all we do is basically I can access this. Oh, and I wrote the snack bar wrong. I can access this like this and say that this snack bar has type snack bar type dot success or fail, right? Let's take success in this case. So we just rendered our snack bar, right? And obviously I don't think it shows anything because we didn't do anything with the snack bar yet. However, what we want to do is actually start outlining the structure, the HTML structure of our snack bar. The first thing is we're going to give it a class name, and the class name will be snack bar, so that we can add some styling to it. Then we want to divide this snack bar into two different parts, two different divs inside of it. One of it will be the div that holds the symbol. So if it is a success symbol or a fail symbol, the one that appears in the left side of the snack bar. So let's give this a class name of symbol. And we're going to have another div which is going to be the actual message. So we're going to put a message as the class name over here. And the cool thing about this is that now we can actually render the message if we want to by saying something like props.message like this. And right now I don't think, here's the snack bar you can see, but it obviously doesn't look like anything that we want to. But at least it is actually rendering the text, right? But what we want is we want to start customizing this in the sense that using our actual props to modify how we look at our snack bar. So one thing I want to customize is the symbol. We want to render a symbol that is a check mark if the type is success, and we want to render a symbol that is an X depending on if the type for this snack bar is fail. So to do that, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna add some JSX, and we're gonna ask basically if props.type is equal to success like this, then I want to render an H1 which contains a symbol of success. Else, I want to render an H1 that contains a symbol of fail. And one thing that is important is I know there's many different ways to grab like symbols and icons throughout React. You can use Material UI, which I've used so many times in my tutorials, but I want to keep this very simple. Don't want to download any libraries. I'm going to use the encoded codes that come with HTML, which can actually render different symbols. If you're interested in finding out what are the different codes, you can go to this website over here. It is on topto.com, which is kind of weird because Topto is like a freelance website, but basically you can see these are all the symbols you can generate through HTML, and all you have to do is just put the hex code inside of your application like we're going to do right now, and it will actually show the symbol, which is really nice. So if you're interested, check out this link. I'm going to try to put it in the description so you can check out this website. So in our case, the symbol for the success icon will be the following. I really don't know how this was decided, how the symbol or the codes were decided, but this is the code for a success one. And for the fail one, it is a bit different. We just need to come over here, put an X, then the code is actually 26 and 13. And if I save this, it should actually render depending on the type. So this type is success, so it renders the check mark. And if the type was fail like this, it would render the X icon. So this is a really nice logic that we implemented over here, and I'm just going to close this. So you can see that now we can actually conditionally render stuff based on the type. So another thing that we want to do is we want to add some styling to this actual snack bar, right? So in order to do that, let's just come here to our snackbar.css and let's start implementing the styles. So the first one, it is very simple. It's just the snackbar class over here. So we're going to say .snackbar. And over here, we're just going to put very simple styles. We're going to do, first of all, we want to position this right at the top, at the center, and we want to make it fixed, right? Because no matter what, it's going to appear right at the center. So we're going to make this position fixed, and we're going to use the classic left equals to 50%. I'm going to use a top to be about 5% of the screen. And then we're going to use the transform function, or the transform property with the translate function, just so that we actually center it right at the center of the screen. So we're going to make this negative 50% and negative 50%. This is a really cool technique that allows you to center your actual element in itself so that it doesn't look kind of misaligned. So then what we want to do is we want to be able to give it a width of about, let's say 350 pixels, and then a height of about 60 pixels. And then what I like to do is I would like to give it a border radius. The border radius will be about 8 pixels. And then the display, let's make this a display flags because we'll definitely need to use flags for this. And let's just say that we want to align all the items to center so that both the actual text, the message, and the icon are vertically centered. So this will make it look a little bit better. And let's also text align center so that the icon is centered as well. So I don't want to deal with the icon not being centered. So let's do that right now. So you can see that it's now over here at the top. It doesn't look completely centered, but that's just because of styling that we haven't added yet. But you can see that it's now right at the top perfectly. It doesn't show any background. It's not green or red. And we're going to fix that right now because we're not actually going to do that inside of CSS. We could do it inside of CSS, but we're going to do it right over here. The logic for this will be very similar to this one over here. What we want to do is we want to come here to our Snackbar and we're going to give it a style property, which is we're able to write actual CSS inside of here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say the background color for this. So the background color will be the following. If the props dot type is equal to success, then we want to make this background color be green. And the green and red that I chose, I actually chose them very carefully. I searched on Google for different types of greens and different types of red. They just look good, I think. And in this case, the green we're using has the following hexadecimal. So it's going to be hashtag 00, then F593. This is a really nice green. I would recommend using this. And then for the red, in the case that it's not, the type for this Snackbar is not success, we want to use hashtag FF. Oh, I forgot to put the string. So hashtag FF0033. So now you can see that the actual color looks different. And if we change the type again to snackbar.fail, it should also change to this kind of red. And I think it looks really nice. Let me leave it as success. But you can see our Snackbar is starting to take shape. The final styling that we're going to add is very simple. We're now going to access the symbol. So we're going to say Snackbar and dot symbol. And the reason for that is because we want to kind of just divide our Snackbar into two different parts. The div of the symbol, which will take up like 20% of the Snackbar, and then the div of the message, which will take up the rest. So to do that, we're going to use flex and make the flex be 20% for the symbol. And then we're going to do the same thing for the message, but instead of being 20%, it will be 80% because 100% minus 20% is 80. So now you'll see that our symbol and our message will be clearly divided. Now, one thing I want to notice is that since we use text align center, this is centered in between the div in which encompasses the symbol, and this is centered as well in the div that encompasses the message. But we kind of don't want to be centered because it kind of looks weird if we do it this way. This one over here, we want it to be like attached to the left. So to do that, it's pretty simple. What we want to do is we can come over here and just say that we want to text align start. And you can see that it will actually push this to the start, which looks okay in my opinion. We can definitely improve this. We can push this a little bit to the right. We can write more stuff. I think that if we put a message that is a little bit bigger, something like action attempted, so attempted like this, was completed. Let me just put the message like this. And you can see it definitely looks better when the message is bigger. But we also need to take into account that we want to make this bold. This is one of the features that I put. I want to come over here and say that this over here will have a font weight of bold. And it definitely makes it look a little bit better, as you can see right here. So now that we have this kind of done, I feel like the styling for this is pretty much done. Both the fail version and the success version are done. Now we get into the logical stuff, which are the actual more important stuff. So how do we actually determine if we're going to show the Snackbar or not, right? We want to be able to show it whenever we click on the button, but how do we do it? So many of you might come up with a guess that a good way of doing this is having a state, which is basically true or false based on whether we want to show the Snackbar or not. And that's kind of true. But the thing is, if we did that in a very simple way, we'd have to put the state in the app.js, which isn't really handy because we want to make this very reusable. Just have one single state called show model and have it actually inside of the Snackbar. And you'll see what this means. So what I want to do is over here, I want to create that state. Let's call it show Snackbar like this, and then set show Snackbar. like this. And this will be a state, so use state. And this state specifically will be a boolean. So let's set it equal to false initially. It will just determine if we want to see the Snackbar or not. And you can see that I also imported useState automatically here, so you need to do that as well. So what we want to do is we want to be able to show this if it is, show the Snackbar if this state is true, and don't show it if it's false. And the way we're going to do this is we're actually going to give an ID to this Snackbar, and the ID will be either the word show or the word hide. In this case, the way we determine this is we ask if show Snackbar is true, then we want to call this ID, give this an ID of show. But if it's false, then we want to give this an ID of hide. And now inside of our CSS, we can actually come over here and recognize both of those IDs. We can recognize the show and give it a visibility of hidden. And we can also come over here and choose the hide one and give it a visibility. Oh, actually it's the opposite. This one will be the hidden one and this will be the visible one. So let's just put visible. And now you can see it doesn't show anything, but if we turn this equal to true, you'll see that it should show the Snackbar. It's rendering based on the value of this state, which is pretty good, right? So the thing is, we want to be able to click on this button over here, and whenever we click on this button, it will trigger the state change inside of the Snackbar. But how do we do it in a way so that we don't need to keep the state outside of the Snackbar component? That's a really interesting thing, in my opinion, about Snackbars. If you want to do it in the way that I'm going to do, we're actually going to be working with the useRef hook. So what we want to do is we want to be able to come over here to our app.js and create a reference to this Snackbar. Let's call it Snackbar ref, and set it equal to useRef like this. And again, it will automatically import the useRef hook. And the initial value for this will be null, but this will be a reference to the actual Snackbar component. But you might be, so why do we want to do this, right? The thing is, when you use the useRef hook, you can actually access many things inside of different DOM elements or even components, including calling functions inside of that specific component. So that means that by using this reference, I can call a function inside of the Snackbar component which triggers sets this value to true based on from outside. So I can actually call a function inside of snackbar.js from outside snackbar.js, which is really interesting. It's very useful in many situations, and it is a logic that is a bit complicated, but it's definitely something that is really important to understand. So I would recommend trying to slow down the video if you want to understand how it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually come over here and set a reference to this Snackbar. And you might be wondering, well, this is a component. You can't set a ref to a component, right? You actually can do that if you use the property from React, which is forward ref. And this is a function really interesting. When you want to set a component to be an individual reference, you can actually do that by using this forward rep. And then over here, you actually wrap this component, which by the way, I'm gonna change this to be using ES6. So I'm gonna call this Snackbar. I'm going to use arrow functions like this. And what we want to do is we want to use this forward ref over here and wrap all of this around with this forward ref like this. And I'm going to put this over here as well. And it might look kind of weird, but now we can actually access the ref that we passed over here by just putting this ref property inside of together with the props. This looks kind of weird, but it's definitely very useful. Now what we can do is we can use this ref property to define something called use imperative handle hook. And this is very weird if you're not used to it. However, React released this use imperative handle hook, which allows you again to call functions from the outside of the component. So how this works is basically we can come over here and call the use imperative handle hook like this. And inside of it, we can pass two things. First of all, the reference that we're grabbing, right? So right over here, we can create a reference from the outside and pass it over here, and this reference will be accessible through this use imperative handle hook because we passed it using the forward ref function. So now in the use imperative handle hook, we can also pass a callback function over here, which now inside of this callback function, we can define all the different functions that we want to be accessible from the outside. So for example, in this case, we're going to create a function called show, not show Snackbar, just show like this. And this function will be able to be accessible from the outside. Right now, let's just do something cool like alert a message. I don't know, Snackbar show, something like this. And you'll see that if I call this show function from the outside, it will actually alert the message. One thing you can see, it's giving us a red squiggly line over here. It's because I forgot to define this. This is actually an object, so I need to do it this way. And we can pass all the different functions inside of here. So I know this is weird, but now keeping up on this, you can see that if I use this reference that I referenced over here, I can come to this button and now pass an on click to this, and inside of it, we can call a function, which this function, all it does is it grabs the Snackbar ref like this, and it basically accesses the current of it. And now we can call the function inside of this use imperative handle hook by saying .show. So now I'm calling a function inside of the Snackbar component from the outside. And you'll see that this actually works. If I click on this, it should alert the message despite it being called from the outside, which is honestly, it blew my mind the first time I learned about this combination of using forward ref and using the use imperative hook, use imperative handle hook, because I didn't even know this was possible. And I know this was possible before, but only using class components. I didn't know it was possible using functional components. And this is how you actually do it with functional components. And why is all of this necessary? Well, this is necessary because now we can handle this show functionality from the inside while only needing to call this function from the outside. So now inside of the Snackbar.js, all we want to do is we want to be able to, first of all, set the show Snackbar to true for, I don't know, 3 seconds, and then set it equal to false, right? That's what happens with the Snackbar. So how do we write this logic? Well, to do that, let's just set the show Snackbar equal to true. Then we want to use the set timeout function, which basically allows you to call some sort of function for a few amount of and make it wait a few seconds and then continue with your code. So with the set timeout, what we're going to do is we're going to write a function which basically after 3 seconds we want to be able to set show Snackbar back to false. And now to determine that we only want to run this after 3 seconds, we pass the 3 seconds in milliseconds, which is 3000 milliseconds. So what happens here is we set it equal to true, so we're able to see the Snackbar. Then we wait 3000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds, and then we set it back to false. So if we try this out, you'll see that now it shows for 3 seconds and it will disappear, which is basically the functionality done. All we have left is being able to add the really cool effect of fading in and fading out. So to do that, all we do is we come here to our actual CSS, and down here at the bottom, we're going to define two different animations. And if you're not familiar with animations, this doesn't really matter that much. The code is in the description, so you can just grab it from there. But basically, to define an animation, you're going to define a keyframe like this, keyframes, and then let's give it a name. So let's call it fade in. In this case, we're going to create the fade in animation. Then we're going to say that from, so this is the starting state. We're going to give both the bottom to be 0 and the opacity to be 0 as well. And then when it ends, we want to basically set the bottom to be 30 pixels and the opacity to be 1, which basically is 100%. So it's fading in, right? It's going up and fading in. And then for the fade out, it's going to be pretty much the same, but it's going to be the opposite. So fade out over here, let's just delete this, and it's going to be starting from bottom 30 to opacity 1, and then we're going to do this 0 and this 0 as well. So these two are the animations that we want to call. And for the show, what we want to do is we want to add both the fade, the animation over here, and I hate when this auto completes, but basically for the animation, what I want to give is first of all the fade in like this for 0.5 seconds. Then we want to call the fade out, and the reason why we're calling both of them, and I forgot to put the capital I over here, the reason why we're calling both of them at the same time is because we know how many seconds it takes for the animation to be done, and we also know how many seconds it takes for us to like stop showing the actual snack bar. So it's 3 seconds. So if we add up the animation of fade in, which is 0.5 seconds, the animation of fade out, which is 0.5 seconds as well, and we incorporate the remaining 2.5 seconds, it will make so that the animation will look very smooth. So as you can see, when you click on show snack bar, it fades in, and at the end it fades out. And we can do this many times. We can change this. We can make this a failed one as well. Let's say action. Oh, I actually need to put it like this. Action failed. Try again. And make this a fail one like this. You'll see that the snack bar will show the action failed. Now, one thing I realized is that on the red one, it looks better to have the text white. And you can definitely change that. It's very easy to change that. One way you can do it is you can just come over here and change the color to be based on the type as well. This is something I'm just adding up right now. If it is success, keep it how it is, which is white. So I'm just gonna write over here, probably white like this. And if it is false, no, actually it's the opposite. Make this black. And if this is fail, make this white. And you'll see that, oh, what happened? Oh, I just realized I put a semicolon over here, but let's just put a comma. You'll see that when I click on this, it actually shows the white one. But if this is a success one, it will show the black one. So this is basically it for the tutorial. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like down below and comment what you want to see next. I apologize if I spoke fast at some point, if there was some point that got a bit confusing. It is a very confusing topic. Creating a snack bar is the kind of thing that I like to do it once and then just reuse the code whenever I need to do it again, or just using an external library. I like doing stuff on my own, and I don't like using external libraries for stuff like snack bars. And the reason for that is because I want to customize it as much as possible. So again, I like doing it on my own. So if you're interested in looking at the code is going to be in the description. And yeah, that's basically it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.